bumps Guyana's discoveries to 16, Cabinet to deliberate on GCOM's timeline for elections, and government took its services to Port Kaituma. This is InfoHub Recap. Stay with us for the next half an hour as we take you through major stories carried during the week September 16 to 20.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
Thanks for joining us. We begin our news with a serious matter. The Ministry of the Presidency, in a statement, says it has noted the hooliganism and thuggery displayed by the opposition People's Progressive Party, its supporters and associates on September 19, both outside and inside the Pegasus Hotel, where President David Granger was the guest speaker at the annual Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association's business luncheon. The release described the lawlessness exhibited as a display of gross disrespect for the president, his office, the government, and the occasion. It noted that it is a worrying sign when a presidential candidate and a former president who is a constitutional office holder seek to incite violence against the sitting head of state and ministers of the government during the execution of their official duties. Their undemocratic behavior and continuous threats to peace and stability has no place in this society and will not be tolerated. The president assures all Guyanese that lawful measures will be taken to guarantee the safety of ministers of the government and to prevent a breakdown of law and order in the country, and remains committed to holding credible elections in the earliest time possible. His Excellency President David Granger on Thursday confirmed that he received a correspondence from the chair of the Guyana Elections Commission regarding the time frame for the holding of general and regional elections.
The head of state told members of the media today that he did receive the correspondence from retired Justice Claudette Singh and will be holding discussions with his cabinet on the matter.
I have received the letter from the Election Commission chairman, and I should be meeting my cabinet in a few minutes' time to discuss that letter.
The president remains resolute that the elections body must carry out its functions free from interference. He reiterated too that his administration continues to uphold the tenets of the Constitution.
The Constitution is very clear on the functions of the Commission. I would be in more grievous breach of the Constitution if I tried to intrude or interfere in the work of the Commission.
Meanwhile, the head of state responded to the diplomatic community, requesting that they allow the affairs of the country to be run by the players here.
So I advise the foreign delegations or the foreign missions to allow the government of Guyana to resolve the issues. I have heard from the chairman of the commission, and I'm very confident that the chairman, a very prudent and sober retired judge, will recommend to me a date which the Guyanese people are prepared to accept.
For InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Earlier in the week, in an address to the nation, the head of state reiterated his government's support for the holding of credible elections at the earliest time possible.
The head of state reiterated his administration's respect for GCOM's constitutionally safeguarded independence, noting its mandated responsibility for the conduct of general and regional elections.
The independence of the Commission and the integrity of the electoral process are essential to ensuring elections which express the will of the electorate. I am committed to providing governmental assistance to the Commission to ensure that the forthcoming elections will not be contaminated by mismanagement or malpractice. The Elections Commission has a constitutional obligation, therefore, to ensure that everything necessary will be done to deliver credible elections.
The president noted that it was GCOM's responsibility to ensure adequate resources and staffing, the publication of the official list of electors, and administrative mechanism for efficient polling implemented. He also expressed full confidence in Justice Claudette Singh's ability.
A governmental team met the chairman and commissioners of the Elections Commission on Friday the 13th of September to ascertain its readiness to conduct the elections. A parliamentary opposition team met the Commission also on Tuesday the 10th of September. We are assured that the Commission is doing everything possible to prepare to conduct credible elections at the earliest time possible. The Elections Commission must be allowed to continue the task of preparing for the forthcoming general and regional elections. The Commission has an obligation to assure the public that it is ready to conduct credible elections and to advise the President of its readiness to do so.
President Granger reminded that only then can he constitutionally dissolve Parliament and name an elections date.
It would be reckless and irresponsible on my part to appoint a date for elections without the Commission's advice and assurance that it would be ready to conduct elections on such a date. I call on all Guyanese to have confidence in the Elections Commission. Guyanese, I am ready to be guided by the Chairman's assessment of the Commission's preparedness to conduct elections. I urge everyone to uphold the Constitution and respect the judgment of our independent institutions and the people who have been appointed to manage them. I look forward to the Commission's recommendation to conduct credible elections at the earliest time possible.
Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
President Granger wrapped up his busy week of activities in Port Kaituma, where he and his government ministers were warmly received by residents as the high-level team was there to take its services to the people. The government outreach kicked off with the head of state presenting a state-of-the-art ambulance to Port Kaituma.
History was created at Port Kaituma as President David Granger and Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, along with senior government ministers, visited and delivered an ambulance and 2 boating engines to improve the health and education sectors within the Matakai sub-district. At the commissioning ceremony at the community ground, President David Granger spoke of the importance of having a healthy nation.
Public health is very important to all of us. And let me say this, that we will continue to develop the public health services in this region, this vast region. We have to have a public health plan which ensures that our citizens are safe from communicable diseases like those I mentioned, and also safe from non-communicable diseases.
Minister of Public Health Valdo Lawrence said that the initiative is part of the government's effort to bridge the gap between the hinterland and the coastland.
Access to good health in Georgetown, there must be access to good health in Port Kaituma and in every part of our country.
The ambulance was donated by International Imports and Supply Limited as part of their corporate social responsibilities. It will serve areas including 4 Miles, Orinoco, and Pittsburgh around the Port Kaituma area. Continued with ministers and officials from the various government agencies listening to the issues and concerns of the residents. With videographer Kwesi Wishart, I am Seneca Thorne for InfoHub.
There was great news this week for the country's emerging oil sector when both ExxonMobil and Tullow announced more oil finds. This is the 14th for ExxonMobil and the 2nd for Tullow, bringing the total oil discoveries to 16.
In early morning announcements, Exxon announced its 14th discovery in the Stabroek Block, while Tullow announced its second discovery in the Oranduke Block. Director of Guyana's Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Baino.
We're particularly appreciative of the prolific rate at which Guyana has been able to uncover a very valuable resource. These represent the 15th and 16th finds, respectively. What it means for Guyana is that it does demonstrate that the country has substantial oil resources.
It is likely that these latest discoveries will thrust Guyana into the top 20 countries with proven oil reserves. Azerbaijan, which currently sits at number 20 in the world, has proven reserves of 7 billion barrels, while Mexico, at 19th, has 7.6 billion barrels.
We now have to do further tests to be able to determine potential barrel equivalency before we'll be able to make that projection. But it seems like Guyana is well on the upward trajectory to be way beyond the 6.5 billion as we go forward.
Embattled Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and Canada have topped the list of countries with proven oil reserves in the world. They are followed by Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Russia, Libya, and the United States, which round off the top 10. Additional discoveries in the coming years will see Guyana moving closer to the top 10 and possibly break into it. The rate of discoveries in Guyana has been deemed as astronomical when compared to the rate of discoveries in other parts of the world.
Diplomacy was on the agenda this week as the new European Union and Mexican ambassadors were accredited by His Excellency President David Granger.
During the ceremony, the head of state committed to building upon the long-standing relationships with both countries. President David Granger said Guyana has benefited substantially from the EU's Development Cooperation Program, especially in the agriculture, education, housing, and public health sectors, and also in efforts to address climate change.
These agreements establish a platform on which to construct a new generation of partnerships, mutual benefits. These agreements will assist in the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, including Sustainable Development Goals to which Guyana is unequivocally committed.
EU Ambassador to Guyana, His Excellency Fernando Canto, said that the EU is committed to supporting Guyana specifically in the area of forestry.
This is also part of our joint efforts to address the challenge of making the most of natural resources while preserving the environment and sustainable and inclusive development.
President David Granger also noted that Guyana looks forward to Mexico's support in building a more robust agriculture sector and learning from the country's experience in disaster management. The Mexican ambassador to Guyana said that his country will be seeking to strengthen relations in the area of education.
Both countries have a basic agreement for scientific and technical cooperation that we can make the most of in basic sectors such as education. For example, I think a big opportunity is teaching Spanish here in Guyana.
Guyana and Mexico established diplomatic relations 46 years ago and have collaborated in the fields of agriculture, disaster management, education, oil and gas, and trade. Likewise, the country has a strong historic relationship with the European Union in human and economic development, particularly for small developing states. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
The first group of Guyanese returned home from the hurricane-ravaged Bahamas and were welcomed by several government ministers and family members.
Oren Grimond, his wife, and 3 children were greeted at the airport by Minister of State the Honorable Dawn Hastings Williams, Minister of Citizenship the Honorable Winston Felix, Minister of Foreign Affairs the Honorable Dr. Karen Cummins, along with Director General of the Civil Defense Commission, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, who spoke with InfoHub.
To date, we have a live group that we keep in direct contact with almost 100 persons on a daily basis to identify their needs, to identify if people want to return. And through that mechanism, we're able to identify the 5 persons that came here.
Minister Hastings Williams expressed her satisfaction with the private sector's support in the relief effort thus far.
We're very grateful for what Marriott is doing. They'll be accommodating them for at least 5 days free, and this encourages us as a government to see that we can partner with private sector, business persons, non-governmental organizations.
Additionally, Minister Cummings reiterated the coalition's government's preparedness to receive its citizens back to their homeland. She noted, too, that those returning home will be able to benefit from the rapid economic growth Guyana will be experiencing in the near future.
We are willing to receive all our Guyanese back. We know it's an important time where we are at the cusp of oil boom, oil and gas, and so when they return, they can be part of the transformative changes that's going on in Guyana.
The government has since announced its intention to donate $42 million to the Bahamas to aid in the country's current recovery efforts. For InfoHub, I am Kellon Rover.
In the legal arena, a new sexual offences court was opened at the Essequibo High Court, the first such court in the Cinderella County.
Less than 2 years after establishing the first sexual offences court in the capital city, the Supreme Court of the Judicature, in collaboration with the British High Commissioner in Guyana and the United Nations Children's Fund, today launched the third sexual offences court in Soddy, Essequibo. Under the leadership of Acting Chancellor of the Judiciary Justice Janet Cummings Edwards, victims of sexual violence have now been given a safe haven to testify without fear of secondary trauma.
What you're about to see here in the Sexual Offences Court in a few minutes and the Special Measures Room will tell you that we've come a long way in ensuring that victims are able to give their evidence in such a comfortable and a dignified way that ensures that justice is done.
Minister of Social Protection, the Honorable Amna Ali, said one of the responsibilities of the government is to ensure that victims have faith in the justice system. He said the establishment of the Sexual Offences Court will do just that.
We must be able to tell victims, you are heard. And it's our job to adapt the system to their complex reality, rather than being forced to adapt the system in itself.
The specialized court has a main courtroom that will house the defense counsel, prosecutors, and jurors. It has a closed-circuit system linked up to the special measures room that will allow victims to give evidence without having to face the perpetrators. From the Sexual Offences Court in Soddy, Essequibo, with senior videographer Tej Paul Bridgebahan, I'm Alexis Rodney for InfoHub.
As infrastructural works progress, the construction of several sea defense projects will see the structural integrity of Leg 1's shoreline further strengthened. On a recent visit to the Essequibo Island, Shaquille Bourne visited 2 of these projects, spearheaded by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure.
We're about 4 miles from Uniform here in Cane Garden on Leg 1. About 150 meters of riprap structure is currently being constructed. At 80% complete and only 17 meters of work remaining, Ranger within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Suku Jetu, told us about the purpose of the project.
This project entails the protection of the sea defense water, entering the inland, the agriculture areas, from damaging rice farmers and poultry farmers, cash crop farmer crops.
The sea defense in Cane Garden borders a canal that separates the earthen embankment from farmlands. Rahamat Hussein, a farmer in the area, recalled the losses he experienced due to poor sea defenses on the island and signaled his support for the project that will protect his livelihood.
We had a terrible flood a couple of mornings, we had damage of holes, the watermelon, thousands of watermelon damage and pumpkin and so forth, So this is going to be good to help the farmers here,
According to Region 3 Regional Engineer within the Public Infrastructure Ministry, Sinaraim Nandram, a sea defense breach spanning 1 kilometer along the earthen embankment occurred in 2010. This event led to the execution of emergency works. Nandram noted that in 2015, the government began to upgrade the boulder-faced structures that were there with riprap sea defense structure. Over in Elizabeth Ann, the $9 million sea defense project begun recently and entails the construction of a concrete crest wall to replace the failed Sancrete structure. Shaquille Bourne For InfoHub.
Still in infrastructure, the residents of Wakenham in Region 3 have welcomed a massive and rehabilitation program that sees them moving from potholes to smoother rides.
It's very good to me because the first week when I turned out, the Monday I had a puncture, the Tuesday I had a puncture, I had to purchase the tire and the tube. And having an asphalt road right now, it's lovely because I leave home now at 8 o'clock and by 8:20 I am at school.
That was headmistress of Mariah's Pleasure Primary School, who commended the $60 million roadworks ongoing on the Essequibo Island. Before the road upgrades, Retmaya explained it took her 45 minutes to get to school as the roads were filled with huge potholes.
It had a lot of holes and you had to be very careful, especially the rainy season. The road does be flooded. And if you do not know the road, you would find yourself getting into serious accident.
The island has now taken a 360-degree turn for the better, and residents Bibi Razak and Ken Biswa are related.
And for the 3 years that I've been using the road, it has been in a very deplorable, deteriorating, dangerous condition. And at present now, it has been very much improved. We have better roads, asphalt roads, and I'm finding it very nice to ride on it.
I'm feeling good, yes, this road perfect, man. But before, yeah, the road went very bad. The school picture can't go to school. So now we thank the range of government for this road. The road is very, very good to everyone, not one man alone, everybody.
Aside from having immensely better roads, close to a dozen persons on the island also benefited from employment opportunities with the project. Of the 4 miles of road to be rehabilitated, 2 miles have been completed and the other half is on schedule to be completed early October. Isaiah Braffett for InfoHub.
As it works to improve accessibility and capacity, the Ministry of Communities donated 6 vehicles to Regions 1, 7, and 9.
Handing over the keys to the regional executive officers was Minister within the Ministry of Communities with responsibility for housing, the Honourable Annette Ferguson. The 6 4x4 Hilux vehicles, costing approximately $64 million, were welcomed by the REOs, all of whom noted it would assist in addressing the needs of their respective regions. Region 9, Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo received 4 of the 6 vehicles. REO Carl Parker said these will assist in ensuring persons get paid on time.
We always have challenges in paying salaries in the region, and you'll appreciate that Region 9 is some 23,000 square miles. These vehicles will greatly improve our delivery and ensure that communities have access to the regional administration and its programs.
REO for Region 7, Kayuni Mazzaroni, Corin Ward, noted the vehicle will be instrumental in the region executing its work plan.
In the education sector, the vehicle will be assisting for us to monitor in our schools. Health sector is to ensure that the drugs and medical supplies go to the last mile to our health centers and so on, assist the staff in visiting and do proper monitoring evaluations.
Meanwhile, REO of Barima Winey, Randolph Storm, said the vehicle will assist the regional administration in saving revenue.
Our region is so big, and the kind of money we have to spend to move from point A to point B, for example, Port Kaituma to Barometer, $500,000. So this will not only give us the ability to move and get our work done, but this will bring a lot of saving.
At the presentation of the vehicles, Minister Ferguson reminded of government's commitment to ensuring the regions have the necessary resources to execute their duties, since the administration recognizes the challenges faced with accessibility in the hinterland.
Since we came into office from 2015 to 2019, we have seen tremendous growth that is in the budgetary allocation for the various regions by 158%. That in itself would say to you that it is government's commitment to ensure that our respective regions, especially the hinterland regions, are outfitted with the necessary resources
The vehicles behind me are what will be used to propel further development within the various regions. Reporting from the compound of the Ministry of Communities in Kingston, I am Isaiah Braffett with videographer Anna Silal for InfoHub.
As we continue our focus on Education Month, we tell you that students and teachers of Golden Grove Secondary School on the east coast of Demerara are the latest recipients of an enhanced learning environment as their $170 million school was commissioned recently.
Describing the project as a job well done, Minister of Education the Honorable Dr. Nicolette Henry explained that every time a new educational institution is built, Guyana is on firmer standing. She noted that ensuring all students complete secondary education is part of the ministry's goal.
Education, my friends, for my government, is not a sideshow. It's not window dressing. This is real serious business. To put it in my words, I say it's where the rubber hits the road. Our current students are the future leaders, and therefore they should be groomed to govern with excellence. They should be given conditions that are conducive to growth and development.
Citing His Excellency President David Granger's continuous support for education, Minister Henry explained that having the largest budgetary allocation demonstrates the bold effort of the government towards improving education.
As more and more young people are provided with opportunities to equip themselves with the relevant skills in academia to foster personal as well as professional growth. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a much needed accomplishment, and it is certainly a step closer to where we need to be as a nation.
The school is fully equipped with 23 classrooms along with a smart classroom and information technology lab, a student welfare office, a library, home economics department, a visual arts room, an agricultural science department, a canteen cafeteria area, a sick bay, and a biology and integrated science laboratory, as well as a chemistry lab. The school is expected to foster the holistic development of students' potential. The commissioning of the school is in keeping with Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which aims to provide inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all.
From the newly commissioned Golden Grove Secondary School with senior videographer Kenny Ann Backus, I am Natisha Isaacs for InfoHub.
As we close this week's recap, we bring you a special report on one of the recently opened education facilities that is making waves, the Early Childhood Education Center in Leonora.
For many young working families, it can often be quite difficult and costly to find institutions to cater to their young children. For that purpose, the government has established the Early Educational Center to give their children a head start at absolutely no cost to the parents.
I think this is a very good initiative because it actually gives young couples a chance to go out and work instead of the wife, which is the norm. She has to be at home looking after the kids in the house. So I think this is a good initiative to actually give young people a chance to explore and develop a career.
The Leonora Center opened on the 17th of June and was filled to capacity as persons were eager to get their children on board for an early education. The facility has classrooms, a sleeping area, sick bay, a staff room, an administrative area, storage spaces, a kitchenette, a laundry room, sanitary facilities, and an outdoor play area for the children.
At present, we have 48. I went over the number because we have to stick at 45. But then it was so pressing. Parents are just bombarding me, Everybody had a situation, and I overstepped my boundary by 3 pupils. I think it's a good initiative, but more centers are needed in the country, especially on the west bank of Demerara and west coast of Demerara.
The center was established through a collaboration between the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Youth Empowerment Unit. Similar facilities are set to be built across the country, with the goal being one in every region and multiple ones where necessary. Before we leave, we were greeted by our grandfather, who is perhaps the most grateful for this initiative.
This center here is for help people like me who didn't have much recourse. And it is a helpful situation right now. And I have another grandchildren, but they don't have space. So I think if they could make some more spaces for some more children, because right now it's like it's too small. So the other grandchildren can't go to school because of this financial situation. I cannot able pay that 5,000 on the other board to get him on school.
Reporting for InfoHub, Nicosi Bruce.
This has been InfoHub Recap, which looked at major stories carried between September 16 to 20. Remember to subscribe to our website for more stories and follow us on our social media platforms. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Goodbye.